Things fell apart after I read this latest book by Ben Marcus. Maybe it was coming face to face again with who I used to be as a reader. This young kid, completely sheltered, and just reading was the main escape, starting with fantasy, science fiction, and horror, then getting into more literary fiction, which was mostly these short story collections from the 90s. I even tried to make my own mixtape of stories here, which I printed out and distributed to friends. Mostly it was an attempt to, let's see what we got here. Yeah, mostly it was an attempt to get this one girl to read this story here by Lydia Davis. These slick New Yorker type stories that came out like a massive shit that you somehow magically didn't need to wipe up after. But it was mostly the second string stories that were more tucked away in the collection that I found more interesting, because that was where the author could stretch their legs more and freaky stuff would start to happen. This was before everything evolved into mostly portraits of constant flinching, where we could see ourselves in the future looking back to where we are now and just turning away in disgust. Where language-wise, the only thing interesting that's happening is this overuse of a particular word, which to me, it's like he's lifting off the pedal too soon and you get that blow-off valve action. You thought moving towards the abstract and obscure was a better way to define yourself, so it became easier to rail against simplistic work with zero worry that one day that critique could be leveled against yourself. Except that's kind of how you evolve, these dumbass misreadings getting under your skin where supposedly you have no heart.
It's a Roadhouse. Too expensive.
Sort of alphabetized, or
yeah, pseudo. And you'll see little things like this. Like this is all of Borges' essays.
Yeah,
but it's in the fiction.
On the flip side, you got the fiction of Borges, which famously has these non-fictional elements to it. Borges, who was this huge influence on Marcus when he was younger, to where you can also see the two sides of him start to develop in the same way. You got this hyper creativity on the one hand and pure workshop craft on the other, really battling it out in books like Notable American Women, where you can imagine this encyclopedic voice taking certain source material and just running with it and spinning it even further out of control. Now you're moving away from the more O. Henry-ish type work and getting into more marginal type writing, where it's kind of unclassifiable, very like with pyrotechnics sometimes. You got movements starting up like and dying off like weather systems, and even rubbing shoulders with the older generation. This issue of the Iowa Review here, sort of like this attempt at finding, what comes after the postmodernists, preparing for battle with all this extra ammunition, even taking anything written like diagnostic manuals and cookbooks and reading it as if it were part of a fictional dream. The old generals hooking you up with all these tools and weapons that could be used as a type of secret weather system. This was before you lost it and became this turd barely floating in the bowl of life, the lowest rung on the ladder, where words just fail to do what you want now except injure those you can no longer make eye contact with. That's when these old phantoms come back and you just can't help it. You slip into your old ways again. You need these hyper-accelerated words in order to escape.
Fucked up now. Tell me your darkest secrets now. You can encode them all in these algorithms that are impossible to crack, but are actually hidden in plain sight.
Stories as written by this young alien intelligence that is documenting our entire civilization through his strange point of view, and really more like these vignettes or prose poems, except almost like scientifically composed, to where we spend so much time trying to reverse engineer how he came about this stuff, and you can see he's like even trying to help us, but you can sense that he's in the background just laughing at our frustration. The aberration now is the language itself, and when you peel everything back, you're really just left with this non-fictional, authoritative, thrusting enunciation that fucks with you so hard that, sometimes you do catch this glimmer of a secret thread that is running through this work, but you can't be sure. You're just kind of looking around and asking yourself, am I the only one getting destroyed by this here? And loving it. I get this nostalgia for when language was more than just a tool for human representation, but a way of entering into magical alien territory. Maybe that's why I'm unable to evolve. I just keep looping here in the past, remembering when you showed me how the world could be anything you wanted, even a place worth being.